Welcome to the very first episode of Cori's Corner, the podcast. Okay, you've seen the clips, you've heard the breakdowns, but now we're diving deeper. Okay, this is a space where we not only talk about what is going on and what is happening around the NFL, but we dive a little bit deeper and learn why it happened. Okay, I'm your host Cori, aka Cori's Corner, and like this show is all about helping you understand the game the way that the coaches see it and the way that the players see it. Okay. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. This is one of those shows where if you want to watch me talk, that's great. Put this on in the background, though, if you don't want to do that. And if you're listening, obviously you're in the car or somewhere else listening. This is the perfect opportunity for you to learn just a little bit more about football and stuff like that. Now, what is my background? I love football. I've grown up playing football my entire life. I played college ball until I figured out that I was not going to make it into the league, but I never lost my love for the game and how I saw the game. I played a specific position in football. I played a lot of positions, but my favorite was center. And as a center, I got to see the game a lot like how a quarterback would see the game. And so that's how I see the game. That's why I love the game of football. It's such a beautiful game. And I want to be able to teach that to you every week, each and every week. So we're going to recap what happened around the league. And then we're going to talk to you about new rules and strategy. We'll do that every week, and we'll break down moments that have everybody talking. So let's get into it. Week 10 had a little bit of everything, you know what I'm saying? Some clutch finishes, some questionable calls, and some standout performances. So let's get into that. We're going to break this podcast down into like basically 3 or 4 different segments, right? The first segment, we'll actually recap the league. I call it Around the League, and we'll talk about the game of the week. And that one's really not necessarily what they have said as a game of the week, but it's games that I think was such a great game that maybe you should go back and rewatch. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, I don't have time to rewatch football games. Yes, you do. You can find time. But you probably only watch your favorite team. My favorite team is the Eagles. If you're watching, you can see I have on Eagles stuff right now. So I watch a lot of Eagles games and I rewatch them. But I watch other games too because I'm the fan of the game before I am a fan of a team. So shout out to football. The second part of that is surprise of the week. We'll talk about the biggest mistake and also like a standout stat or standout stud. And then we'll move to the second segment, which is what you are probably here for, which is NFL 101, right? It's like rules you thought you knew. That's what I'm going to call it. Or maybe I'll call it something else. Well, we're going to talk about rules that maybe dominated the game this week. And hopefully when we dive into that section, you will learn a little bit more about why a certain thing will be called, what it's called for, and stuff like that. Even if it didn't dominate the space for the week, we're going to dive into it and we're going to talk about it. So I want you to really know and understand football. Now, if you are listening to this podcast, if you're watching the podcast, I'm going to assume that you know at least a little bit about football, but that's okay. I'm not going to, if you want to write in, if you want to call in, if you want to email in and ask more questions, that is what this is here for. This is not your normal football podcast where we are just talking about like analyzing the game. No, we're talking about learning the game. I want you to learn the game and see the game how coaches and players do. And I think that if you are just the average casual fan, when you learn football, how players and coaches learn football and see the game, you will have such a new appreciation and love for the game, even if you already love it. Also, to all of my college football people who love college football, I enjoy college football as well. Unfortunately, the focus of this show will be professional football, particularly the National Football League, maybe a little bit of the UFL as well, but particularly the NFL. So sorry you won't get your college football fix here. I hope that you don't leave, though, because the foundational pieces of football are still the same, whether it be college or professional. So I think you can still get something out of this game or out of this podcast, so don't leave. The third segment is just going to be what I call Cori's Quick Picks, and it's about the upcoming week. So this week we'll talk about Week 10, and then I'll give you my quick picks for Week 11, and those quick picks are going to be like what players to watch for, what game you should circle on your schedule, and I'm going to make some sort of bold prediction for the next week. And then we'll be out of there. So I don't anticipate these being over 45 minutes. I want you to get your quick fix of football and get up on out of here. And I hope that when you leave, you have learned something new in every single episode. That's what it is. Some of the episodes will be inserts where we'll just talk about rules. But once a week, you'll get a longer episode like this one, which we have all of those segments. So let's get into it, man. Episode 1. So Around the League, segment 1. Let's talk about it. Let's kick things off. quick trip through Week 10's biggest story. So first and foremost, we're going to go over the scores so you know who won and who lost if you didn't watch every single game. By this point, maybe you know the scores, but if you don't know the scores, let's go through it. Week 10 kicked off with the Broncos and the Raiders. The Broncos won that game 10-7. Now, if you watch this game on a Thursday night, it was tough and it was rough. Okay, Bo Nix did not play a very good game, but the Broncos still pulled it out 10-7. The Colts beat the Falcons, I believe, in overtime on Sunday. First game early in the morning overseas, 31-25. Colts have been playing good this year, so I'm glad that was a good game. But hey, the Jets, the New York Jets, they beat the Browns, and I got to be honest with you, the Browns are going through it. And I would like to see Shedeur Sanders, but topic for another day. Jets over the Browns 27-20. The Saints get a dub over the Panthers. Panthers, what's going on? I believe this was Tyler Shuck's first start, maybe second start, but he won 17-7. So good job for the New Orleans Saints. The Patriots, I think one of the sleeper teams in the league. The New England Patriots. I wasn't familiar with the game this year. Okay, they only have 2 losses and they beat the Buccaneers. They beat the Buccaneers 28-23. The Ravens beat the Vikings 27-19. The Dolphins, this one was a little bit crazy. The Dolphins edged out the Bills. Oh, hey, yo. The Dolphins beat the Bills 30-13. That's BTA. And for those who don't know what BTA is, that's belt to ass. Okay. Tua put BTA on Josh Allen and them Bills. 30-13. The Bears got a dub over the New York Giants. And if you are listening to this podcast, you already know that the New York Giants have parted ways with their head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, you can feel whatever way you want to feel about that. It doesn't change the fact that the Bears beat them 24-20. Texans got the win over the Jaguars 36-29. The Seahawks beat the Cardinals 44-22. Jesus. Did the Cardinals even show up to play? The Seahawks, that's another BTA. Lions, same score, beat the Commanders 44-22. The Rams 42-26. The Chargers over the Steelers 25-10. And my beloved Eagles 10-7 over the Packers. Seems like there was a lot of scoring going on this week, okay? So shout out to all the teams that got dubs, but there was a lot of good storylines. That's the other thing I like about football in general is that there's drama everywhere. So for all of my people who love, all of my girls out there, my girlies who love the housewives and stuff like that, there's a version of that is seeping through the NFL, okay? So if you pay attention to the storylines, you can get some drama out of it, right? For instance, you can follow any of the Bo Nix stuff. Bo Nix he's a younger quarterback, but the way he ascended to power to be the starter for the Broncos and his quarterback was Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, there's drama there, right? There's a storyline there. Let's talk about the storyline with the Colts or the Falcons, right? With the Falcons, you have a young quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., and the Falcons started off the year kind of looking like they were going to be the one. And with the Colts, you have a quarterback in Daniel Jones who used to be absolute hot garbage with the Giants, and who is now looking like the NFL MVP. There's drama there. There's storyline there. Then you have the Jets and the Browns. And the Jets, they got a new coach and they got a new team, and they seemingly look like they're about to win games, and they typically lose them. And they beat the Browns. The Browns, who again, there's the NFL drama around the Browns is basically, if you want to follow one drama story surrounding the NFL, it should be the Cleveland Browns, because they drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and it seems like they hate Shedeur Sanders. Look into it if you want to follow that drama. If you want to look at the Saints and the Panthers, there's drama with the Saints as well. The Saints passed on Shedeur Sanders and got Tyler Shuck as their quarterback. He's a rookie quarterback. And I believe they either benched or Spencer Rattler got hurt. And so Tyler's playing now. What makes it really hard for Spencer to come back if Tyler starts playing well and starts getting dubs, right? Let's talk about the Patriots. The Patriots have Drake May as their quarterback. Drake May is playing at an MVP level. And the Patriots have been booty butt cheeks for years, for the last at least 3 years. And now they're up with the 2 lost teams in the NFL. Drama, okay? Ravens and Vikings. The Ravens are one of the teams that's like, they were supposed to be good on paper. You ever... The Ravens feel like one of those teams where you study for the test and then you took the test and then when you got the grade back and you failed the test, and you're like, what happened? That's the Ravens. So if you're looking for that type of drama, follow the Ravens, right? Then you have the Dolphins and the Bills. The Dolphins are a hot mess. They got a young team. I say they got a young team. They really have an old team if you really want to talk about it. But there's always injuries. Their coach kind of seems a little bit spaced out, but they're very exciting. And Tua, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with Tua, right? You can get 2 touchdowns or you can get 2 interceptions. You just don't know what you're going to get with Tua. He's going to throw you something. And them beating the Bills is crazy because the Bills is one of the best teams in the league. There's drama there. Bears and Giants. The Giants is where the drama is with this one, which is that they have a rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, who is starting because they benched Russell Wilson some games ago. And Jackson Dart has been playing well. However, there have been 4 games in which the Giants in the fourth quarter were predicted to win with over 90% probability. They lost all 4 of those games. And now they just fired their head coach. Drama. Who else got drama? I mean, all of these teams, all of these games have drama. If you look at the Eagles, of course, there's always drama. It doesn't matter if we win or lose or draw. They're going to say A.J. Brown hates the team or Jalen Hurts can't throw. So there's always going to be drama surrounding the Eagles. My point to say that is, if in fact you do love football or you just like football, for whatever reasons, or you're looking to get into football for a little bit more drama, there's a ton of drama in the NFL. You just got to find it, right? And it may not be with your team. You got to look a little bit more, listen to some of these podcasts and stuff like that. But that's the scores for the week. Sorry, that went a little bit long, but I wanted to give you just an intro to these things. This is your first time listening to the show because this is the first episode. So the game of the week for me. So I went back and watched a couple of games already. And so what I'm going to say is the game of the week for me is the Patriots and Buccaneers game. And here's the reason why I say that is because I got to watch that live on TV. And if you are not paying attention to the Patriots, you will be surprised at how well the Patriots are playing the game of football. Like, you'd be very surprised. The Buccaneers are a good team. The Buccaneers are a good team. They are hard to beat. And they just got one of their best receivers to come back this week. And the Patriots somehow hung 28 points on them. Buccaneers have a great defense and won that game. And it was a good game. It was 28-23. It was a little bit back and forth. You got Baker Mayfield, who at some point at the beginning of the season, people were crowning him as to be the MVP. So I think the game of the week last week is the Patriots and Buccaneers. So if you have a chance to go back and watch that game, it's going to be a great game. A lot of people talked about how the Eagles game wasn't a good game. I can't really disagree. I don't know if it wasn't a good game. It was just very boring. It was a 10-7 defensive game. But if you want a game where there was some back and forth, there was a lot of scoring, there was some good plays and some good football being played, I think the game of the week is the New England Patriots versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Go watch that game. I know you know the outcome, but it doesn't really matter. You'll be able to really enjoy the product that they put on TV for that. So the surprise of the week for me, this was a very simple one, is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins. Now, my real question is for the Bills, what is going on? What is going on, bro? Teams, you're not supposed to lose to teams like the Dolphins. And I get it. The NFL is any given Sunday. But it's not college, bro. This is not college. This is why I like the NFL over college, is that some things should be a little bit more assured. Okay, in college, it really is even any given Saturday. Somebody pulls up in your house on college on Saturday, you can lose any game. You can get it any game. I don't care who you is. Okay? Think about all the Arch Manning talking, the Texas talking, all the other stuff, bro. Like, you can get it any single Saturday. In the NFL, it is typically not like that. Generally speaking, by this point of the season, we're at week 10. Okay, so we're at the halfway point of the season. You know who is good and who is not a good football team. The Dolphins are not a good football team. The Bills are a good football team. So the surprise for me was not only that the Dolphins beat the Bills, but it's the fashion in which they beat the Bills, which is surprising to me. They put Bill to ass. So I'm struggling between what was it a bigger statement for the Bills or for the Dolphins about this game? I don't know. Sometimes you just have an off day, you play down to the competition, and you can't get out of the mud. Maybe that's what happened with the Buffalo Bills. I ain't gonna lie, as an Eagles fan, I kind of like to see it. But at the same time, as a football fan, I don't like to see it. I want to see the best teams play best. This should have been, the score should have been opposite. The Dolphins should have got smacked, and the Bills should have won. So that's my surprise of the week. If you want to go check that game out, you should go check that game out. Now, the biggest mistake for me actually comes from my game, and that's the Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers. There was a play in that game. Now, I don't know if this was Nick Sirianni's decision or if this is A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' decision. Either way, this is why I think it's the biggest mistake. It's the end of the game. It's 4th and maybe 6. You have an opportunity to either kick a long field goal or maybe punt the ball back to the Green Bay Packers and play the field position game and make it very hard for them to take the 20-something seconds they have to make it into field goal range, right? Most statistics, and generally speaking with football, you don't take the chance that they took, which is instead of them punting it or trying to kick the field goal, they threw a lob pass to A.J. Brown, which was underthrown by Jalen Hurts. And in that situation, I'm thinking to myself, like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing? If it is an A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, they came up with that play, backyard football. Nick, what is going on? Why don't you have a control enough with your players to know that in certain situations, I'm the head coach, and when I call a call, y'all better do it. Do not snap that ball, right? Like, I think there is a trust you have to have with your team. I get this. As a player, there's a trust you have to have with your coach to say, hey, I need you to know I'm out there playing this game, and like sometimes I may call a call that you're not seeing. Sure, I get that. There's also that in the other way, that I'm the head coach and I'm finna make this decision. Do not go against it. Like, I would not, the conversation that I would have if I'm Nick, if that be the case, is going to be a little treacherous. Now, Nick, if you made that call, my brother, what's going on? What's going on? I heard when you were talking, you had a little something back here, a little gunk. Maybe you were sick. And that messed up some of your thinking ability. What's going on? What's happening? Punt the ball, brother. Don't, like, I get we do the tush pushes and go for it in the 4th downs and everything else, but there are some times where the game calls to be the game. And in that situation, when you're up by 3, when they only have maybe 1 or 2 timeouts, or I think maybe even no timeout, I gotta go back and check. They got 1 or 2 timeouts, or 1 or no timeouts. Punt the ball, play the field. Even if you punted it through the end zone, they still bring it out, and you're playing a yardage game. I got to make it hard for Jordan Love to throw it to get in the field goal range and not short, because what happened was they basically only needed 25 yards to get in the field goal range, and they almost got it. They got 24 yards. And by the grace of God, the kicker, who had been having hamstring, quad, or groin, some sort of lower leg injury, and came off of that, was kicking the ball sideways. Thank God he missed. Otherwise, we might still be in overtime. So that was my biggest mistake. I got to look a little bit more into the film on that play. And I want to just, people are going to sweep that under the rug. Nah, I don't like that. It's given Seattle 2 years ago. Okay, it's given Seattle. But I will say my standout stat, and sometimes this is not a stat, it's a person, is that we got Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips got traded from the Miami Dolphins to the Philadelphia Eagles. He's an edge rusher, outside linebacker, whatever you would like to call him. And he had a phenomenal game in his debut with the Philadelphia Eagles, his return to being with his old defensive coordinator and Vic Fangio. And he had a great game. So, like, shout out to him, because I was not familiar with this game. I didn't pay attention to him while he was in Miami. And so bringing him over, I was a little bit like, well, how good is he? I'm not sure. He played as a phenomenal of a football game as you can play as a defensive player. I mean, he did well. Let me just look up his stats real quick, bro. Y'all think I'm playing? I'm not playing. Like, as a defender, it's hard for you to play a better game, right? Like, he had 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2 that he assisted on. It's not showing his forced fumble right here, but he had a forced fumble and he had a fumble recovery. Like, you can't, and he had some pressures as well. You can't play a better game than that, man. You just really can't. So shout out to Jalen Phillips, man. That was week 10. It was an interesting week when it comes to all of the questionable calls, the clutch finishes, and the standout performances and stuff like that. So that was week 10. If you need a little recap, let's move on and dig into those calls that had people fired up, but maybe something that you do not know. Now, if you are new to the game of football, you won't know what I'm about to talk about. If you are not new to the game of football, then you will know what I'm talking about. But I really want to talk about the difference, what it is, and the difference that it makes or can make in the football game, right? This is going to be my favorite part of the show, which is talking rules and breaking down certain things to you. Each week, I'm going to pick a rule or a concept that maybe you're confused about or don't know about. Okay, break it down, plain English. So for my viewers, you may be getting clips. For my listeners, I will try my best to put this in such audio form that you can depict what I'm saying just based off of my words. I hope so. If I suck at that, y'all got to tell me. I can get better. Okay, so let's clear the air. Let's talk about this week, defensive pass interference. And the reason why I wanted to start with this one in episode 1 is because I think this is a call that gets called a lot, right? About as much as a holding. Holding those seems to be pretty easy for people to grasp and understand. Defensive pass interference does not, right? So let me just read it off and kind of tell you what it is. So defensive pass interference, or if you hear somebody say DPI, that's what they mean. It's defensive pass interference or pass interference. It happens when a defender makes contact that restricts a receiver from having a fair shot at catching the ball. I'm going to read that again. Defensive pass interference, or DPI, happens when a defender makes contact that restricts a receiver from having a fair shot at catching the football. So it does not mean any contact, right? So if a wide receiver is running a route trying to catch a ball and the ball is thrown and the defender makes contact, it's not any contact. It has to affect the receiver's ability to play the ball. And when we say play the ball, we mean attempt to actually catch the ball. So here are what the officials, and I will use the term officials because they are not all referees. There is a referee, but they're not all referees. They're officials. So here's what the official is actually looking for so that they can throw the flag and call the penalty on this play. The question you have to ask first is, did the defender make contact with the offense before the ball arrived? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2 they need to ask themselves is, was the defender playing the ball or the receiver? And question number 3 is, did that contact prevent the receiver from catching the pass? Now, let's break down each one of those questions one by one to make it a little bit more simple for that. So if I'm an official and I'm looking at this play, quarterback throws the ball to a wide receiver. The wide receiver is being defended by a secondary person, a safety, a cornerback, whoever, it doesn't matter, linebacker. And there's contact. Okay, remember, question number 1 is, did the defender make contact before the ball arrived? Because if the ball has arrived and there's contact, then this is just a legal play, right? Contact happened and you play through the contact, and that's pretty much it. If they make contact before, well, then I need to go to the second part, in the second question, which is, was the defender playing the ball or the receiver? Again, if question number 1 is yes, and that question is, did the defender make contact before the ball arrived? And that answer is yes. Question number 2 is, was the defender playing the ball or the receiver? Now, what do we mean by that? Playing the ball or the receiver? Okay, I want you to imagine this if you're listening. If you've seen football, you know this. Imagine you're driving or anything. The rules of the land is this. As a receiver, I have a right to the football, to attempt to catch the football. When that ball is in the air, I have a right to that ball. On the flip side, the defender also has a right to that ball. The defender has to just play that ball. And that means, where's my focus at as a defender? So if I'm a receiver and I'm running down the field, okay, my feet are chopping, I'm running down the field, the ball is thrown to me, I'm looking, as a receiver, I'm looking up, I'm looking at the ball. I'm still going to be running. I may even jump to catch the ball. I may do all of these things because I can do that. I have a right to this ball. As a defender, if I make contact with that wide receiver, it needs to be clear that my focus was on the ball and not the receiver. So if I'm just running straight at the receiver and I knock that receiver out, I never look for the ball. It doesn't seem like I'm attempting to try to hit the ball. What it seems like is that I'm trying to hit the receiver so that the receiver doesn't catch the ball, drops it, or whatever else. That's a penalty. But if I'm playing the ball, if I'm also running to the ball, I'm looking back at the ball, I jump to try to swat the ball out or catch the ball, and there is contact in that moment, that is not defensive pass interference because I was playing the ball and not playing the receiver. So that's question number 2. Was the defender playing the ball or the receiver? If that answer is also yes, then we move to question 3. So again, question 1 is, did the defender make contact before the ball arrived? If the answer is yes, we move to question 2, which is, was the defender playing the ball or the receiver? If the answer to that is playing the receiver, then we move to question 3, which is, did the contact that occurred prevent the receiver from catching the pass or having an opportunity to catch the pass? And if that answer is yes, and only if that answer is yes, that's when that yellow flag comes out the pocket and is thrown, and it is defensive pass interference, right? And defensive pass interference is what they call a spot foul. So the ball is then placed at the yard line of where the foul occurred. So it's not like, there are some penalties where if you have that penalty, it's a 5-yard penalty or a 10-yard penalty or a 15-yard penalty or whatever. No, defensive pass interference is wherever the foul occurred, even if it's 45 yards down the field, it will be placed 45 yards down the field. If the penalty occurred in the end zone, it would be placed on the 1-yard line. So this is not, the reason to do that is a deterrent from people to just stop cheating, just throw the ball up and just pass interference the whole time. You really don't want it to happen that way. So here's the part that people miss, I think. If the receiver initiates the contact first, or if both players are fighting for position, it's usually a no call. Okay? So when you're watching the game and you're yelling at your TV, and I know you're doing this because I've seen you do it. Hell, I do it myself. If you're looking and you're, hey, that's pass interference. It's probably not because the official didn't call it. And it's because one of those 3 criteria did not meet the standard. Okay, all 3 have to meet, and then that flag is thrown. And it's usually because both people are playing the ball, right? They're fighting for that position, or the offensive player initiated the contact first. Now, that's not to say that offensive players cannot get pass interference. They can indeed. That's called OPI, or offensive pass interference. Because again, like I said earlier, the defense has a right to the football as well. So the offense can't create an advantage by pushing off or initiating contact before the ball arrives to deter the defender from catching the football either, right? So there is that penalty as well, but we're just talking about defensive PI, defensive pass interference, DPI for short. So again, those are the 3 questions. If that criteria is met, then the flag is thrown. The officials can get together and confirm or recall that penalty. But some years ago, you were able to actually review that play, which was very interesting. But I don't really like reviews like that because everything in slow motion looks how you want it to look, or looks very different. Like, you need to really see it in fast motion of if something was very restricting or not. Another factor that's not actually that we didn't talk about is if the ball is catchable or not. So if the ball is deemed to be uncatchable, because let's say I'm, 6'7". Anyway, let's say a receiver is very tall, 6'4", or something like that, and a quarterback throws the ball, and that ball is 10 feet in the air. I don't know about y'all, but there's not a lot of people who are jumping to catch that ball. So there's no way you can have a pass interference on that because that ball is uncatchable. So if you ever see them wave their hand above their head like this, if you're watching on video, you can see it, but it's just a wave above their head with the palm down facing your skull. That's because the ball was uncatchable, and so there was no pass interference. Like, feel free. If the ball is uncatchable, have a melee if you want to have a melee. Now, don't punch somebody and get ejected from the game, but you're able to have contact because the ball was uncatchable anyway. Again, it's contact that restricts a receiver from having a fair shot to catch the ball. Well, if you didn't have a shot at catching the ball anyway, it doesn't matter. So think about those things the next time you're watching the game and you think there's a pass interference. Think about, did it meet the 3 criteria? Or maybe I'm going to say 4. Was it a catchable ball, number 1? Did the defender make contact before the ball arrived? Did the defender play the ball or the receiver? Which one? Make a decision on that. And did the contact prevent the receiver from catching the pass? If it meets those 4 things, sure. When you're on your couch, continue to yell at the screen. If it didn't, what they say, pipe down. You'll be okay. You live to play another day. That's football. Some calls get missed. Some calls get made. Bottom line, the next time your group chat is blowing up about, yelling for a flag, ask yourself, was the defender playing the ball? And you be true to that. Okay, that's the key difference. You be true to that. All right, before we wrap up, let's do a little rapid fire. We'll get into kind of my quick picks heading into week 11. And that's really, I don't know, that's really tough for me, honestly. I feel like I'm a terrible picker. Like, I'm just keep it a thou wow with you. If you're playing fantasy football, don't listen to me. I get thrashed every year, boy. James Thrash. Y'all remember James Thrash? Oh, football historian. Well, maybe we should do some history stuff on the show. I like that. I like history things. Okay. Anyway, let me just do a game in a circle real quick. Let's see what we got next week. We got the Jets versus the Patriots, Dolphins versus Commanders, the Packers versus the Giants, the Titans versus the Texans, the Falcons versus the Panthers, snooze fest, Vikings versus the Bears, the Chargers versus the Jaguars, the Bucks versus the Bills, the Bengals versus the Steelers, the 49ers versus the Cardinals, the Chiefs and Broncos, Rams, Seahawks, Ravens, Browns, Eagles, Lions, Cowboys, and Raiders. I hate to be biased, y'all, but I think the game to circle, you know what? I won't do that. I will leave the bias I have towards my beloved Eagles, my birds. Go Birds, dickhead. I will leave that to the side, and I will choose the Bills versus the Buccaneers. Sunday, November 16th at noon my time, which is Central Standard Time. 1 p.m. on the East Coast, and if you're in Cali or on the West Coast, 10 a.m. Bills versus Buccaneers. The Bills are playing the Bucs at home. That's a game I think you should circle and you should watch. Will probably be interesting. Why do I say that? The Bucs are coming off of a tough loss to the Patriots, and the Bills just got their ass kicked by the Dolphins. Both of them are going to be hungry, and they're both good teams. That will be a good game. Circle that, and you can watch that game. I will also say I think the Eagles and Lions game is going to be very good as well. People need to know who's the king of the NFC, and it's looking like right now, of course, it's my birds, but a lot of people are saying the birds are beatable, and I like to see the Eagles continue to prove people wrong. So you can circle that game as well. That'll be Sunday night football. Speaking of, I love the Sunday night football game. My wife does an interesting thing where she tries to guess what I forgot the girl who sings the song, what she puts in there, because they say like the two teams, the Eagles and the Lions in a blank showdown. Like they always say something like a nasty showdown, a frozen showdown, whatever it is. She likes to guess those and see if she gets them right. And I think she's about 50-50 on this season. So shout out to her. And maybe that's a game y'all should be playing. You know, a little drinking game or something like that. All right, let's make a bold prediction real quick, man. Looking at these games, my bold prediction is that the Cowboys will lose to the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Is that bold? I don't know. Am I being a hater? Maybe so. But again, I'm football over my team. And in this moment, though, I am lying. I'm my team over football because I want to see the Cowboys catch an L on a Monday Night Football game. So that's my bold prediction. Raiders are going to catch a dub in Las Vegas against the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Anyway, that's it for episode 1 of Cori's Corner. Like I said, we're going to keep it as close to 35, 40 minutes as possible. And I hope that cleared up any confusion you may have about defensive pass interference. And I hope that really, the next time you watch the game, you look for those things, right? If you learned something new or you just love talking football, make sure you follow the show here on YouTube. You know, click it and make sure that you click Cori's Corner. Follow that. Make sure you hit the bell so you can get notifications. Also, follow me on all my socials and TikTok. You know, we break down play-by-play and we go through the film and I can show you some highlights and stuff like that. So great football quality. Hit me up on socials. We can also talk football, right? Next week, you know, we'll talk about some other things about what makes players, you know, truly elite and all the other stuff. So thanks for kicking it with me. I'm Cori from Cori's Corner. You know what I'm saying? God is love. I love all. Come back next week so we can talk some ball. Peace out.